And when we start talking about using AI tools, whether you're talking about using them from YouTube or any AI platform, before you even start to think about where you're going to put them and whether or not they're going to be necessary, the first thing you've got to ask is, where's the most pressing need in your business right now? And that's going to be the most important aspect of the process. If you're going to apply YouTube AI tools in your marketing, you've got to start with the most pressing need in your business right now. And you do need to have some kind of framework in order to kind of assess what that is. And so that's going to be an important element to all of these questions that we're going to be asking. And what we want to do first is we want to analyze this question according to a classic marketing framework. Now, this marketing framework is not something that's unique to me and not something that I came up with. It's probably something that you've heard from Jay Abraham. You've heard others repeat it over the years. Some of the terms have been repeated by people like Dan Kennedy, but they are basically classic marketing frameworks for small and independent businesses. And so you've got to determine if your most pressing need right now is your unique positioning. And is there some reason in your business that people can come to you over and above everybody else or over and above everybody doing nothing? And so if that's the most pressing need in your business, that's the one that has to be addressed. And typically, someplace in this framework, you're going to find some element of your business. If you're not doing it, this will tell you what the most pressing need in your business right is going to be right now. If you're not doing any of these, then you're probably going to find that you want to start with probably the first. You want to make sure you're doing all of these things systematically before you start talking about adding in additional tools and software. Exponential marketing. And so if we are really assessing whether or not we're going to start with AI tools, do we have upsells and cross sells? Do we have a way so that if somebody buys from us, that we're going to get the maximum amount of, let's say, profit from that customer? Are we going to be able to get that customer, number one, back to us over and over again? Are we going to get more repeat buys? And are we also going to get the most profit from every sale? Right? So if you don't have those things in place, that's really going to be the most pressing need in your business. Are you list building? And so before you start talking about whether or not you're going to use AI tools, particularly YouTube AI tools, you've got to determine whether or not you have an active list or that you are building it. Are you generating leads? Do you have a source for generating leads? Do you have a process for generating leads? Are you doing something every day to put new people into your pipeline? And if you start talking about using AI tools, this may be the point at which you start thinking about, well, can I use YouTube AI tools to help me if I'm not list building, to help me if I'm not generating leads? Are you doing partnering and alliances? So if YouTube AI tools help you to do more partnering and alliances with people that can bring you more traffic, people who can bring you more opportunities, people who can share the load with you if you are doing creation, if that's what helps you, can you use YouTube AI tools to be a more effective partner and to find those alliances? If you are already in the process of selling things, can you use YouTube AI tools in a way so that you'll find better affiliates or that you can be a better affiliate? Media advertising. And in some cases, this is probably where YouTube AI tools can have an immediate impact. So if you don't necessarily know how to put together a video ad, and you can't put together an effective one, and you can't put together one that's going to be in concert with everything that a particular platform does, well, AI can help you to be able to do that, and YouTube can help you to do that. You can put together an ad that meets all the parameters without really having necessarily the ability to create all of the assets. So we can use YouTube AI tools in order to do that, to be more effective if we are using paid advertising specifically on the YouTube platform. Direct advertising. So if you understand how to get in front of your customer, are you going to be able to use direct response in order to get in front of them? You're probably going to lean on AI in order to do this. And then, of course, SEO and affiliate marketing and internet marketing, we can use AI tools to help us to make more effective choices to do SEO, more effective choices to make sure that we are in front of the right people and to do social media marketing. So in some cases, we might be able to use AI tools in these elements. So before you begin thinking about how you're going to use AI tools in your business, you've got to be able to answer these questions, and these are going to be the place where you're going to focus. So if you're not doing these things, being able to create great videos on YouTube may or may not necessarily bring you the result in terms of profit that you want. These things have to be in place in order for you to make the most, in order for you to make the most effective profit, in order for you to make the most money in your business. So even before we do that analysis, right, even before we get there, what should we be thinking about? What kind of analysis should we be doing? So before you look at any one part, let's say you decide to focus on your unique positioning, in the system that we talked about, we have to better be able to understand how YouTube fits into our system to help us create more money. So whatever YouTube is, wherever YouTube is in your process, maybe you do a review channel, and that review channel brings you new customers, or they bring you traffic to your lead generation. However you do it, you've got to figure out exactly what's happening on YouTube so that you get new customers to go to a page in order to buy something. So you've got to understand that fundamentally right now, even before you start getting into one specific business model. Understand right now where's YouTube in your process. What is it that it does in order to help you to create new revenue? Does it generate revenue but not profit? So in other words, are you making money, but you're not necessarily making more than you're spending in your internet marketing business or in your online business or in the online part of your business? So in other words, you're bringing in customers, you're making sales, but it's not profitable for you to do that. You've got to determine that, because that's going to help you with your analysis as to where and how you're going to be using AI tools. Is it currently generating revenue but not profit? And profit. So in other words, you are generating revenue and it is profitable. So maybe what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to use AI in order to help you to scale up. Maybe that's what you'll need to do. So determine, where's YouTube in your process? Is it helping you to generate revenue and profit? Can you use AI in order to scale up and to generate more in the same amount of time and effort that you are already expending? Does it currently generate expenses but no revenue? And so this is probably the worst of all worlds, but it's something that you need to acknowledge. And if all the money you're spending in terms of putting together a YouTube channel and you're doing all these things, but it's not yet generating revenue, maybe you're going to have to figure out where AI can help you in your process in order to help you to generate revenue at all, right? So, maybe you're not generating any sales. Maybe that's not happened yet. Maybe that's not yet something that has been done, but it's a starting point. And it's something that you've got to determine, in your process. Whatever we add to YouTube, right? Wherever we add in terms of YouTube to our process, you've got to be able to think about the entire system. So what is your system for generating profit? And where does YouTube fit? And so you can't just focus exactly on one thing. Well, I'm going to use YouTube to get traffic. Well, that's part of the process. You've got to be able to think about, where does YouTube fit so that it brings me a customer that actually spends money. And you've got to be able to think about the entire process, not just one thing. And so if you can do that, you'll be able to determine how AI can actually help you where it's not helping you right now. And this is kind of important, because this is something that happens to information marketers a lot. You'll focus on one part of the system. Let's say you'll focus on being unique. Maybe you'll focus on, let's say, getting traffic. But if you don't have a clear understanding of how the entire system works, from the time somebody watches a video to the time they actually make a click on something that helps you to generate revenue, then what you're going to be doing is optimizing one part of the process without necessarily affecting whether or not you're going to be able to make money. Now let's go deeper. Let's now talk first about what the tools are even going to be available to you. And this is going to be kind of a general list. It's not an exhaustive list, but what's available to you to even help you to do some of these things. You've got research and optimization tools. All right, so you can go to sites like TubeBuddy, and TubeBuddy will help you to determine where your keywords are, where your opportunities are, and to some degree, all the optimization sites for YouTube in specific, they're going to be pretty much the same. Some are going to offer you a few different features, but basically what they're doing is they're giving you research on what to do. They're showing you how to optimize your video, and they're showing you progress. All of these sites. So when you start talking about TubeBuddy, you start talking about vidIQ. It's pretty much going to be the same. They're probably even going to be priced around the same when you start adding it up over time. And you're just going to have to kind of pick one that you like best. You probably don't need all three. Some people probably, if YouTube is a large part of your process and large part of generating revenue, then maybe you do want to have all three or more than one. There's Morning Fame, right? You might want to use Morning Fame. And again, all these tools are basically going to help you to do research, going to help you to find what the right topics are, what the hot topics are, how you should optimize your video in order to get to those topics. So that's a tool that will be available to you. As I said, if you're first getting started, you may want to pick one. If you're finding that a lot of your revenue comes from YouTube or is derived from YouTube, you may want to use more than one or even all three. Now, I'm not going to talk a lot about SEO tools because basically I'm not talking necessarily about YouTube. I'm talking about Google in general and about being found and about where those keywords are that people are actually searching and whether or not you can create content in video form in order to be seen on those keywords where you know people are already searching, even if they're not necessarily searching for videos. And so that's beyond the scope of this course, but those tools are available to you. They're not necessarily YouTube tools, but they are important in the process. Now, here's where we're going to start talking about something that may be a little more controversial as of the recording of this. You can generate and create text using AI tools. And these are not necessarily YouTube AI tools. I know that, in some cases, vidIQ, you can actually use vidIQ. But even if you use vidIQ, what they're doing is they're connecting to something like ChatGPT. And what they're basically doing is they are then connecting to an existing chatbot. And so the basis of this chatbot, right? So the chatbot's going to create the content. You can use ChatGPT, you can use Bing, you can use Claude. Basically, these tools allow you to start from zero and create content that you can put in your videos, right? Pretty elementary, right? There's nothing earth-shattering there. You can use AI tools to help you to create audio for your video. And so that's going to be important if you're going to be using a computer-generated voice. Some are very good. There are sites like Murph and 11 Labs. 11 Labs is probably the most well-known, and they have voices that if you can feed the text to them, they will help you to create audio for your videos. If you need to create images, you can do that, and the images can be created on sites like Bing, and I think Bing will do it for free. Midjourney, I think is maybe, as of the recording of this, maybe $10 or $11 a month, and then there's Adobe Firefly, and I think that there may not be a charge for that, but there are places where you can create images if you're going to be doing slideshow-based videos. You can create images of pretty much what you want. I know Canva does this also, even though we're not going to list them here. Actually, Canva is here, right? You can create images using Canva. You can use AI to edit your videos, and again, that's beyond the scope of this course. We could probably spend the whole time just talking about using AI to edit. And then finally, you can use AI to create the final process of your video. So you can process your video with the audio that you have, with the images you have, with the text you get from all these other entities. You can put it inside of these elements, and they will help you to create the final video. There's a site called InVideo, and these things have a cost associated with them. There are sites like Microsoft Clipchamp, where you do have some free measure. I think there's a charge associated with Microsoft Clipchamp. However, you can, if you have Microsoft Office, you can use Microsoft Clipchamp if you want to, and you can bring some of these things together. They're not necessarily all that innovative, but in terms of AI video creation, you can use NVIDIA or Pictory.ai. Both of those sites will help you to do a few more innovative things in order to create a video from the audio that you have, from the text that you have, from the image that you have, even with the editing that you have. You can put it all inside of either video or Pictory.ai in order to produce the final video. There are other sites like Synthesia where you can have an avatar that'll actually read for you. It does actually look like an AI image, so just so that you'll know, it's not at the point where it really looks like a human. It may get there at some point, but right now it's not there. It does actually kind of look like you're doing something that's a little more artificial. But again, some people do use these in their videos. There's also branding tools that have AI associated with them. And you'll find that primarily in Canva. And Canva does have AI tools that if you can input the text, there are elements where Canva will create your text content. It'll create the design. You can do those things inside of Canva. Another way to do that is going to be Microsoft Designer. Canva is probably the most established and the most well-known, and it's probably been there a little while. Microsoft Designer is a little new as of the recording of this, but it pretty much does the same thing. You're going to put in your words and you're going to create the entire design. So let's say that you want to design a thumbnail and you want to make that thumbnail on your YouTube video to look like something specific or to communicate something according to your brand. You can do that with Canva, but you can also do that now with Microsoft Designer. We'll talk a little bit about faceless YouTube channels and content. That's an important element. And as of right now, it's highly possible in the very near future, YouTube's going to give viewers the option of filtering out AI content. That may happen. It may not happen. But as of right now, what YouTube is basically saying is that you have to disclose if you're going to be using AI content. So if you've generated any part of your video and you've used AI in order to do that, technically, you need to be able to tell YouTube that that's what you've done, so you can communicate that to the viewer. That's what they've said. Now, there are probably variations to that. There are probably levels to that, and it has not been fully defined. What they're saying is that if they don't like the way you've disclosed or that you've chosen not to disclose, then they're going to take some kind of action. Now, here's the real issue with this. And whether you choose to use AI to generate the content in any way, the question is always going to be whether or not somebody cares about what you're doing. So if you're just using AI to, let's say, do what I call elevator analysis, and you're just taking something somebody's already done, and you're taking something derivative, and you're just adding your spin on it, that may or may not be necessarily something that anyone's going to care about enough to keep watching your content. So you probably, regardless of what YouTube does, right, about the filtering, and that's just speculation, but you probably have less to worry about from YouTube than you do whether or not people choose to ignore your content. So whether or not you disclose or not, or whether or not YouTube puts the disclosure and makes it available, that's neither here nor there. Here's what matters. Are people going to care about what it is that you create? And so YouTube states that if you create with AI, you don't disclose, it can take some kind of unspecified action against you. That's as of the recording of this. We don't know what that action is. They'll probably define that as time goes forward. But it's kind of going to be important to note. I mean, if you're going to invest time in doing a lot of AI generated content and you really want this channel and this content in order to generate revenue for you, you're going to have to consider that. And you need to be thinking about whether or not that's something you want to invest your time in, as opposed to creating the content, without using AI in order to generate. You will need them to determine whether or not you want to use AI generated text, right? So you're going to have to figure out if that's something you want to do. You're going to have to figure out if you want to use AI generated voice, right? So maybe you have cloned your voice, and I don't know whether or not if you clone your own voice, whether or not that's considered to be AI assisted or AI generated, we don't know. If you're doing AI generated video scenes like you would do with Pictory or video, is that considered to be AI created? Will your customer care? Will YouTube care? Will they require you to disclose that? We don't know. You just got to be able to think through these things and whether or not that's going to be something that you want to do and invest your time in if you're going to use YouTube in order to get traffic to your sites. One thing is certain, you're going to have to put some time into video creation, even if you choose to use AI. So the thing that you don't want to do is to just use AI to just throw up a bunch of random content and not worry about whether or not it's quite up to snuff, and not worry about whether or not it's worth people's time. If that's going to be the case, I think that YouTube's probably going to do what they can, right? And you might say that, well, there's no way they'll know. They're going to do what they can in order to filter out that content and to give your customers and your viewers the chance to filter out that content also. One thing that this brings to mind is time optimization when you're talking about whether or not you're going to put the time into creating YouTube videos. And you really do have to determine, how much time are you spending right now on the things that cause you to profit, right? You have to know that. You have to know if does that take 2 hours a day? Does it take 3 hours a day? Does it take 5 hours a week? In order to create profit, how much time are you spending right now on the things that actually make and create profit for you? Because you then need to back into the number as to what amount of time you're spending on YouTube specifically. And so maybe you're not doing anything YouTube specifically. Maybe you're trying to determine whether or not you're going to add that on, but you first got to determine, are you doing anything right now with your time that's causing you to profit? And if you're already using YouTube and you're already involved, is it right now such that the activity you're doing is leading to you generating profit? You need to know what that number is. You need to know how much time you're spending. Because if you know that, right, you can use AI to improve that part of your production. So what can you improve about what you're doing right now that will help you in order to produce content that will again generate more profit and help you to do it more efficiently? Now, here's the most important element, and this would be the case whether we're talking about YouTube or not. And most information marketers don't discover this until well into the process. You don't have an endless amount of time to spend on YouTube. So you can't process whether or not you're going to use AI tools in regardless of where you are in your business. You don't have an endless amount of time in order to start using these tools and to get involved in this. What you're going to have to do, you're going to have to spend some resources on understanding how to use YouTube and to produce customer traffic specific for your market and niche. So AI is not necessarily a method, right? You've got to understand what the process is for you in your business to get from YouTube to bringing you customers that will actually spend money with you. I do want to now talk about where AI can help you. So where's AI going to help you? And so how can we use AI effectively with YouTube? How can we use it in a way so that it alone will help us to be more effective in generating leads, be more effective in making sales, be more effective in people watch our videos? How are we going to make the sale? And maybe your business model is so that you're more enlightenment and entertainment, and you are relying on YouTube in order to bring you the kind of people that will watch your channel, and you will monetize your channel with sponsorship and other things like that. That's another business model. What we are primarily talking about here in this session is what can we do, right? What can we do so that AI can help us to effectively bring more customers to what it is we're doing, so that we'll generate more leads, we will make more sales. Now, most people are going to look for ideas. That's how most people use AI. They're going to go to ChatGPT, they're going to go to Claude, they're going to go to Bing, they're going to say, give me some ideas, help me to generate some things. That's how most people are going to do it. And so, and maybe that's the way you've used it also. And so, the thing to remember about the way, if you're going to use all these chatbots in that way, is that's low hanging fruit. So if you say, well, ChatGPT gave me a great outline, well, it's still the lowest hanging fruit, because ultimately ChatGPT is derivative. It doesn't create anything. It goes and looks at what's already out there, and it kind of, you know, brings it together, and it gives you something based on what's already there, based on what it's been trained on. So it's derivative. And so it may or may not produce uniqueness. So you've got to understand that whether or not you choose to use AI tools to create the content that you are going to put inside of your video. Now, while not exclusively YouTube AI, these AI tools can help you, right? They can help you to make unique, so that most people are not going to bother to work at the level that we're going to be talking about here in the next few minutes. So you can create something that's going to be unique. It's going to be unique to your market or niche, and you don't have to worry about most people copying you, because again, most people are going to go to ChatGPT, Claude, Bing, or whatever the chatbot is. They're going to say, "Give me some ideas." And that's not what we're talking about here. We're going to talk about doing something a little different and a little more involved, but will ultimately give you the kind of content that you will use in order to generate the kind of customers and to make more sales. You do need to understand, what you're trying to do in your content creation, right? So what are we trying to do? Right? Well, whether we create YouTube videos or podcasts, whatever the case is, what are we ultimately trying to do? We are ultimately trying to build trust. And so that's going to be the first and foremost element that we're going to establish with the people that are going to be watching our videos. And so, again, you got to be thinking about, well, do I really want to create, AI generated content? Do I want it to be an AI audio? And do I particularly care? Ultimately, for people to click links, they have to trust the what the video says. Now, some people are going to click links regardless. They're going to come watch a video. They're going to find out something new. They're going to click on it. They're going to go there. But for the most part, over the long term, where we are ultimately looking to build trust with a customer or prospect. Now, all of this that we're going to be talking about overshadows, it supersedes anything that you're doing just to get keywords. We're not talking about just keywords. And again, I recognize that that is the way that most of us have been taught to create content. That's what we are trying to do. If we just talk about the content, that we can eventually insert our link. I'm talking about going a little further than that. How can you use, right? So if you're trying to do more than just make sure you rank for a keyword, and then have the solution, how can you use AI to help build trust, right? How can we get people to subscribe to our channel? How can we get people to leave that channel and come into our marketing funnel? How can we get people to trust our recommendations, whether they be affiliate recommendations or they are, product recommendations? First, you've got to have a firm understanding of what you think the person watching your video wants to do or solve. And so there's not an exact science about this, but the first thing you've got to do is you've got to have an idea. What the person that's watching this, what could they be trying to solve? What problem could they be having? What goal do they have? What are they trying to do? A general idea. Because again, you can always come back and create another video, and you can always talk about a different angle to this, but in general, you start with understanding what you think the person who is watching this video wants to solve. Now, the rest of this process is going to come from Dr. Elihu Goldratt, the creator of the theory of constraints. He wrote a book called The Goal, if you've already read it. And so in Goldratt's book, the book's called It's Not Luck. And this was called the theory of constraints, and it's been applied to marketing. So the goal was applied to process, but It's Not Luck was applied to marketing. And so he suggested that understand your customer's problem is the first step. So we talked about that. So do we understand the person who is watching this video? And again, I'm going to call that person a customer because we're not on YouTube to entertain. Now, most of us, we're going to be on YouTube in order to reach our customer. And so we're going to reach our customer and we got them and they're watching the video. Do we understand what we think their problem is? Because we've got to then go to the next step. And so what undesirable effects are happening as a result of that problem they're having? So as a result of, let's say that the problem is that they don't have enough retirement income. Well, what are the what are the undesirable effects of their life as a result of that? It could be whatever your market or niche is. You understand what the problem is, and you need to understand what is the effect of those problems, because that's what you're going to need to speak to. If they don't accomplish a goal, if they don't solve the problem, what's going to happen? Some people might call this almost the classic direct response copywriting formula. Problem, agitate, solve. It's another form of that. So do we understand the undesirable effects? If we understand those undesirable effects, we need to verbalize them in the video. We need to talk about them, because that is how we build trust. We build trust by getting the customer to know that before we make a recommendation, we understand some of these undesirable effects they're experiencing as a result of the problem that they have or the goal they're trying to get to. So whether it's a short video, long video, you need to verbalize that you understand the undesirable effects. You then, right? So when you understand their whatever their undesirable effects are right now, you then have to understand what is their current reality based on those undesirable effects. What is their exact reality? Can you articulate that? Now, again, you're not going to get this exact. You're not going to get this exact in one video. You may have to come back. You might have to come back in another video. And you might have to come back in a third video where you are basically outlining their current reality and you're speaking to it. You're speaking to their current reality. You're also speaking to the undesirable effects they're having as a result of not being able to solve the problem that they're trying to solve. And so if you're able to explain that, and I think Dan Kennedy says if you can explain their problem better than they can, then they'll give you credit for solving it and they'll give you the opportunity to solve it. And so you've got to be able to explain, articulate. It doesn't take a great copywriter. It doesn't take some slick advertiser. It takes understanding your customer. It takes understanding their current reality. So can you understand your customer's current reality, the person who's watching that video? Do you understand what their current reality is? And again, I'm not saying that you're going to get it all right in one video. You might have to do more than one video. And you've seen this probably in various channels where people are talking about different angles of the problem. You might need to do that because, again, our goal is not to entertain, right? If we can be entertaining while you're doing that, I think that's wonderful. But our goal is to reach our customer. And we're going to reach our customer by establishing trust. And we're going to establish trust by making sure we articulate their current reality. What do we do next? Then we need to understand what's the alternative reality, right? If they solve the problem, right? If they solve the problem that's causing all these undesirable effects, what's that alternate reality? What is that? What does life look like if they get that problem solved? Can we articulate that? We should be able to explain then. It's called mapping. It's what Dr. Goldratt calls mapping. We've got to map them from their current reality to their future reality. That's what we've got to do in our videos, in our series of videos, over the course of videos. We've got to map them from their current reality to their future reality, whatever we think it is. And again, you're not going to get this right. You're not going to get this perfect, but you're going to build trust, right? You do this and you do this every single time out because, again, you're trying to reach a customer. Goldratt calls this reality tree mapping. We're mapping them from their current reality to their future reality. That's what we are doing. We are establishing trust. We are saying to them, I understand, right? Without having to say words like I understand. You don't go to your customer and say, I understand what you're going through. You don't have to do that. You're going to start talking about their reality. And you're going to talk about whatever that future reality is if they get their problem solved. None of this, you're not going to find this in the popular literature. So, if you go trying to looking for, you know, let's say reality tree mapping, I would highly suggest that maybe you read the book called It's Not Luck before you trust an AI in order to tell you what this means. There's not going to be a lot even in the AI that will tell you exactly what this means. I would say that if you really want to understand it, you probably want to read The Goal by Dr. Elihu Goldratt. You also want to read It's Not Luck. These things basically help you to establish trust with your customer. And that is what we want to use the AI to do. Here's where the AI comes in. And then when I say we're using AI in a way different than other people, we are going to the AI in order to help us and to do research so that we understand all aspects of the customer's current reality. So we should be able to understand what the problem is, but we're going to the AI and we're going to ask the AI to give us everything that it can possibly give us on what the customer's current reality means. So again, we're not just going to the AI and saying, give me some ideas, uh, give me an outline. Everybody does that, right? Everybody's got that. And for the most part, I'm not saying everybody's going to have the same outline, but I'm saying you're getting something derivative. What I'm talking about right now is you have put something into the AI in order to give it something real, something tangible, and you are extracting something to tell it, okay, what is the current reality? What does the customer's current reality means? What are the customer's potential undesirable effects? Maybe you don't know them, right? The AI can help you to determine what could the undesirable effects possibly be if they don't solve this problem. Now, this is where, again, the AI can help us. The AI can expand our thinking. It can give us more than what we expect. Because again, all we're really doing is we're using this with our understanding of the customer, and we're using this in order to build the bridge from their current reality to the alternative reality that we want them to achieve and experience. Your videos, right? All of them. Over time, it can be not, again, doesn't probably not going to happen in one video, but all your videos basically should be mapping them from the current reality to the future reality. That's what you're doing. You're moving them across. You're establishing trust, right? Now, again, I'm not saying that you don't go tell them, hey, I understand your problem. That's cool, but you want to demonstrate that, right? Demonstrate that with an in-depth knowledge of their problem and the undesirable effects. And this is where we get the AI to tell us this, right? So again, most people are just going to go to the AI and they're going to say, give me a great idea. That's not what we're going to do. We're going to go and we're going to understand the customer's problem in ways that they don't even fully understand themselves. And so even if you choose, and we talked about keywords early now, let's say that you decide that you're going to optimize for specific keywords. If you're doing this, right, even as you do your keyword optimized content, if you're also reality tree mapping, what you're going to do is you're going to build trust with that customer that clicks on your video because they found it based on the keyword they were searching for. And that is what we want. We are trying to bring those customers. We're trying to bring them into our marketing funnel. We want them to trust them. We want them to click our links. We want them to come to our list. And so we want to give them engaging content. And believe it or not, people want to hear about themselves, right? They're concerned about them. They're not concerned about you. They don't care who you are. They don't care about all those things. They care about themselves. So if you can do this, yeah, effectively with AI generated content, I think that's wonderful. I think you'd have a hard time doing it, but if you can do it, then use AI generated content because again, we don't care about 10,000 views on our video, right? That doesn't move us. It shouldn't move you. What we want are real people clicking real links to go join a real list, which is ours, and to click on real websites to buy real products from us. That's all we care about. We're not moved by likes. We're not moved by views. We're not moved by comments. We don't care about any of those things. We care about people watching our videos, clicking our links. Now, again, if you want to do an entertainment model or if you want to do an inspirational channel, I think that's a different business model. What we're talking about, though, is how an AI can help us AI tools on YouTube can help us in order to get those new customers into our marketing funnel. Okay, that's about it. Are there any questions? Any questions?